My name is Nathania Ong. I am an actress and I am currently working on my homecoming concert, which is in the Esplanade. It's called Spirit of Giving. It's in the Esplanade Concert Hall at 7:30 p.m. on the 20th of December. With this concert, it's a bit of an interesting one because I think that I have grown a lot. Like, I obviously grew up in Singapore, but I haven't performed in Singapore for quite a number of years. And so I almost kind of wanted to treat this as a bit of an introduction to people who don't necessarily know me and like just tell them a bit about my story. So it's going to be tracking my musical journey since I was the age of 12 until today. And there's going to be some songs that have been heard by smaller audiences, some heard by bigger audiences, and some by nobody at all. And it will be for this group of people only to listen to for the first time, because I don't think it's going to be recorded. So it's going to really just be like once in a lifetime. It's one night only, and it's just going to be a really good time. The reason why I was able to fly back is because I just did Into the Woods with Pandemonium. So I was playing the role of Cinderella as well, and that was my first professional like theater show on home soil. So it was a great experience, and honestly, like, it was such a fun show. Like, it's a Sondheim, it holds some really there's amazing songs in it as well, and it's also notoriously difficult. So I haven't been challenged like that musically in a while. And so I think for me as an actor, I unfortunately, because being in Singapore, it's not like, it's very difficult to for it to be a full-time job. You'd kind of have to do other things outside of that to kind of support yourself, or you just have to be incredibly lucky and booked and blessed all the time, which I cannot necessarily guarantee for myself. And so I feel that at this point, and especially being this new into my career, I'm really traveling where the work takes me. So if it's in the West, I'm going back to the West. Or if it's in Singapore, I'd love to come back and I'd love to do more shows. Or if there's anything filming here, I'd love to come back, because also it's a lovely opportunity to get to see my family as well. I think attention seeker is the right word. No, I'm joking. I have always really enjoyed the stage. Like, even like when I was 5 or 6, I think my first performance was for Total Defense Day in 2004 in front of the late President Narden. And I was singing Home with my sister. And I spoke to her about this the other day, interestingly enough, and I was like, honestly, like, I was so glad to have you there, because I don't think I would have had the courage to stand there and sing. And my sister, Angelica, she literally told me, she was like, I don't think I sang. She says, I think I just stood there and held your hand while you sang the whole thing. So I do think that there's a little bit of like an adrenaline rush that you get when you kind of step onto the stage. And I think that as performers, and as for me, for someone who really loves their craft and who loves acting and singing, I think that there's always like that sweet spot that you're always trying to achieve when you do go into performance. I had the whole 3 years in drama school in Mountview before I ended up going into professional work. And they obviously taught you techniques, but it was mostly about how you approach work. So it was a lot more about that and how you attend to your craft. But in terms of gaining confidence and being able to have like a little pre-show ritual before you step onto the stage, I think that was only really something that I dealt with after I started performing professionally, because I honestly, with every show I take on, I still learn something. I learn something new about myself. I learn something new about how I can approach characters or work or singing. I learn something different, how to mold my voice. And so it's always these little bits. And I think that I've gotten a lot more comfortable since I have started. And I think a part of that is confidence. So when I was in Les Mis, I had like a ritual of like eating habits. So I just can't have milk before I step onto the stage. And after I would have my dinner, I would like go makan, I would like put my smelly food into the microwave and let everyone smell the aroma. I've become a lot more conducive with the work that I do. So when I warm up, I know exactly how I warm up and how to change and adapt my warm up for the day, so that I can kind of attack those areas that need a little bit more attention, or that are maybe just feeling a little bit under on the day. And I think that that's just through repetition, through getting to know your body, and through all of these different things. Whereas before, when I first started, it was about hard work, hard work, hard work. You're always doing the most work for sometimes a lot of payoff, because sometimes you do need it, and sometimes very little payoff, because there's actually not a massive difference between that. I think everyone says the same thing last, the food. Like, you can't get like super good Singaporean food in the UK. Like, you can, but you're gonna be paying like, what, like 12 pounds for like a bowl of fried rice or something. So it's like, that's like almost over $20 for a bowl of rice. That hurts my soul internally. But also there's certain things that you just can't get. Like, I cannot get my Gimmo market chai tao kueh. Like, that is, I have dreams about that when I'm back there. So it's definitely the food. And family. My mum sat over there, so family. I mean, that should have been the first answer, but unfortunately, the food wins out every single time. The audition process was actually quite interesting for me for this role. So I initially auditioned for the West End. I got pretty far in the rounds, and then I got cut. And then it went to one of my really, really close friends, and I was so ecstatic and so happy for her, but obviously a little bit jealous lah. Like, I obviously wanted the part as well, but you know, it is what it is, and I think she's an incredibly talented actress, so I was really happy for her. And following that, I did my West End debut in Be More Chill, and nearing the end of that is when I got my first round audition, 2 days before I finished the run of the show, which I was only on for about 5 weeks because I was replacing another cast member. And so I did that, and I had 2 more rounds, and by that third round that I did, that was the finals, and that was in front of Cameron, with a panel of 10 people in front of me. Keep in mind that the biggest audition room I'd sat in had like 4 people. So having 10 people was more than double of that. And having the man himself sat in front of me was even worse. I came in, he said hi to me, and we greeted each other. And then he asked me, he was like, oh, so it's so nice to meet you. So have you seen Les Mis before? And I went, ha ha, no. And I froze. And I was like, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. Like, I really admitted it to the man's show. And I thought he meant like in person. Like, I was just like, oh, have you seen the stage version? I was like, I grew up in Singapore, and it depended when the tour was here and if I had the money to go watch it, you know, there's all these number of things. And so I was like desperately, frantically trying to defend myself. And then thank goodness the producer was on my side, and sorry, the casting director was on my side, and he defended me. And he was like, oh, Cameron, darling. He was like, not everyone has the money to watch Les Mis. Safe to say, I didn't get the role. I was put on hold, and they said, how about you just take a moment, you go watch the movie, and you come back. And I said, oh, okay. So it was like neither good news nor bad news. Like, I wasn't cut. So I went back and I watched the movie, and then literally 2 days after that final, I was called into the Cameron Mackintosh offices, and it was just me and 3 other pretty high up creatives in Les Mis as well. And it was like a 45-minute audition. He grilled me with all of the songs that I did and made me learn some stuff on the spot that wasn't even in my audition folder. And then I got out, just shaking off the nerves, and then I went over to babysit my friend's dog. And so I got off at Liverpool Street Station, and then I got a call literally an hour after I'd left the audition room, and then they gave me the part. And I was screaming and spinning around in front of this like mass crowd. I think the thing with being in Les Mis, there's a lot of cooks for one pot. Like, as I mentioned in the audition, there are about 10 people sat in the front of the panel, and everyone is pulling you in different directions because they all have this one idea of like what they want this role to be. And they're just trying to find different ways to get you there. And honestly, when I first stepped into the role, they gave me a bunch of direction, and I was really struggling because I felt like I was being pulled in all sorts of directions. And so I really tried to bring my Eponine as close to the text as I could. And so for me, it wasn't about making her lovable. It wasn't about making her likable, because that's not my job. That's up to the audience if they decide to like her or not. And so for me, yeah, it was really just about being as honest and as truthful to the text as I could possibly do. And so the directors gave me all of that stuff, and then we opened, and then after press night, I threw it all out the window. Obviously, if they gave me like direction, like from like our resident director, and when they came in, if they saw what they did, like they don't tell you when they see something they like. They only tell you when they see something they don't like, and that's how you know. So if you don't hear anything, that's probably good news. And I found that for myself, and in not just on stage in a nervous situation, but I always find that when you take the focus away from yourself and you put it into other things. So when I step on stage, I try and tell myself that, oh, it's not just me who's standing on a stage and singing, it's an entire orchestra of people. I have my entire cast back behind me, supporting me. I also have this love and this craft that I've worked really, really hard on, and it's exciting to put it onto stage. And so I think that for me, it's really that love and the focus on the character and about the truth and the honesty behind what I do that makes it easier to kind of step on stage. Although if you watch that big BBC video, I was shaking in my boots. You could totally tell. And yeah, because I just not sung that song in front of that big of an audience. The stakes are pretty high in that song. And so it's quite an emotional song as well. So I think there was definitely a bit of that. And also just the reception that I received. It was beyond anything I could have possibly imagined. And I feel so blessed to have gotten to live that moment.